Award-winning TV presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon said that Israel will never abandon Jerusalem. His remarks came only hours before his scheduled meeting with the Palestinian Prime Minister Mahmoud Abbas Abu Mazen. Two Palestinian young men were martyred by Israeli gunfire. One of them was killed after his arrest in the West Bank, and the second was killed during Israeli incursions in Khan Yunis, south of the Gaza Strip. Now to our correspondent there, Hazem Badaru.
Yes, the Israeli occupation forces continue their operations in the Gaza Strip, killing a Palestinian in the town of Karara, east of Khan Yunis, also demolishing a number of homes in Rafah, south of the Gaza Strip. These developments on the ground coincide with reports saying that Palestinian Prime Minister Mahmoud Abbas is close to reaching an agreement with the Hamas movement. However, Hamas has not yet confirmed or denied these reports.
Abu Mazen is expecting to reach an agreement with the Islamic resistance movement Hamas regarding stopping their attacks on Israelis. An American soldier was killed in an armed attack in Iraq, and the U.S. Central Command declares that the soldier was traveling on a main supply road in Iraq when he was fired at and killed. Blair visits Qasr after meeting with the British forces in al-Basra. This is his first visit to Iraq since the collapse of Saddam Hussein's regime. Blair warned Syria and Iran of intervening in Iraq's affairs. Hundreds of Shiites demonstrate in Baghdad, demanding the withdrawal of the U.S. and British forces and accusing these forces of creating chaos in Iraq. Heightened security measures in preparation for the Group of 8 Industrial Countries Summit in Evian, France. This is the end of the news in brief.
Before his meeting with Sharon, Abu Mazen said that within a week he expects to reach an agreement with the Islamic resistance movement Hamas to stop the martyrdom attacks against Israel. Abu Mazen's statement was given to the Israeli newspaper Ya'adut Aranat before his second meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. However, Hamas said that they are still reviewing the issue of stopping their military operations against the Israeli occupation forces, reiterating that they have not yet made a final decision on the issue. Amid reports that Israel's occupation forces will gradually withdraw from the Palestinian cities and that the Palestinian Authority will take over the security responsibilities, the Israeli occupation forces continue their military operations in Gaza. They completely demolished 5 houses and partly destroyed 5 other homes in the city of Rafah on the border of Gaza and Egypt. Meanwhile, the Israeli occupation forces murdered a Palestinian man in cold blood during their incursions in the city of Al-Qarara, east of Khan Yunis. The occupation forces shot the man in his home. Additionally, they entered and raided citizens' homes and arrested a number of people.
We were sleeping when they entered. They took everyone outside and fired sound bombs. I was on the step behind him when they shot him. A second later, he fell and was lying down. When I couldn't hear a sound from him, I screamed, "My son is dead."
This Israeli escalation comes before Abu Mazen's meeting with Sharon and following the Palestinian Prime Minister's remarks to the Israeli newspaper Ya'adut Aranat, saying that he expects to reach an agreement with the Hamas movement soon regarding stopping the military operations. The issue is being reviewed by Hamas, however, they have not made a decision.
We are here at the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, informed Brother Abu Mazen in our most recent meeting that our position is the same as it was in Cairo, and we still insist on that position. However, as promised, we are viewing all the internal and external developments in the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and even in the prisons. Thus, we will not yet make a final decision. Ultimately, our decision will serve the resistance on one hand, and on the other hand, it will serve the higher interest of the Palestinian people.
The interests of the Palestinians depend on the end of the occupation. However, the Israeli tanks have been separating the town of Bet Hanun from the rest of Gaza for the past 3 weeks. Currently, What is happening on the ground contradicts the discussion of political independence, especially in light of the ongoing meetings between the Palestinian and Israeli sides. The incursion and assassination operations are still ongoing. Azem Badaro, Abu Dhabi TV, at the entrance of Bet Hanun, north of the Gaza Strip. Millions of Iraqi families are living in similar circumstances during this period. They are unable to return to normal life, and they have no leading institutions that can fulfill the demands of its citizens. We now turn to this report, which offers a simple glimpse of the life of a mid-income family in Iraq.
Abu Marwan is the head of this hard-working, middle-class Iraqi family, who, like other families, remained patient, waiting for Saddam Hussein's regime to end. He completely supported the war on Iraq, but after all these years, he does not have anything to show except for this humble home in Baghdad.
We have no work. We are sitting, waiting. Our only work is to cook food, preparing the 3 meals, go to sleep, and wake up in the morning. This is a hard routine to bear. The days that pass are difficult for us, and for all our people.
Marwan carries the burden of 6 children. She was also harmed by the sanctions and the aftermath of war. Every day at specific times, the electricity and gas are cut. The only economic relief she has are the food coupons, which are beginning to run out.
My coupons are rationed. We have a few, but we're running out of them, as you know.
Abu Marwan's family includes 4 sons and 2 daughters. Marwan, the oldest son, is a student at the Faculty of Engineering. However, his studies were deferred a full year due to the continued security situation.
All the students are suffering psychological trauma. We just came out of the war. The economic and security situation has had a negative impact on the students. I decided to postpone school for a year, which will be better for me.
Muhammad, the younger son, has a child, Mustafa, who was born during the fall of the regime. He manages a simple family workshop that extracts rust from water pipes. The workshop has been closed due to the scarcity of the main water resources.
Our work is unpredictable. Our lives have stopped. We are all sitting around. No one can go outside because of the security situation. We feel forced into this. The only thing left is the security situation. I want the situation to improve so that things get better and we can return to work like normal.
Musanna, Ahmed, Mi'ad, and Marouj continue to sit and learn the lessons of life. They ask, will their future be better than the lives lived by their parents? They see the hardships of the Iraqi people who have suffered for a long time. The story of Abu Marwan's family does not differ from that of many middle-class Iraqi families. This family, which depends on income generated by this workshop, has become anxious considering the current security situation, which is preventing them from returning to their normal way of life. Lina Al-Masharbash, Abu Dhabi TV.
From the issue of politics and parties, we will move now to the streets of the neighborhoods of the most populated areas in Baghdad. We will hear the different opinions of the residents of Al-Sadir City, previously called Al-Thawra City. Some believe that the future government in Iraq should be Islamic, and that Islam is the only solution. Others believe that any interim government should be able to end the current chaos, turning a blind eye to its composition. Thawra City, whose majority population is Shia, is one of the many heavily populated areas in the Iraqi capital city of Baghdad, where more than 2 million people live. This high population and increased discussion about the future Iraqi government may play an effective role in the nature and definition of the next government if free elections are held, as promised by the American administration. Despite the fact that the U.S. administration has openly stated that it will not allow the formation of a religious government in Iraq, some residents of Al-Thawra believe that an Islamic government is the only solution.
We have experienced many types of governments in Iraq. We want an Islamic government. An Islamic government will be from us. and it will know the plight of the people. We desire an Islamic government to represent the people of Iraq and the rights of the Iraqi people. The choice of an Islamic government should be from within Iraq. That represents the Shiites in general. Iraq is an Islamic country. We are like any other Arab country. We want an Islamic government.
Among others who support this type of government, they believe in the necessity of an Islamic government in its full definition that can defend against outside pressure.
We want a Muslim government, Islam according to the full meaning of the word, not just Islamic.
We are Iraqis. This is an Iraqi country. We are of Islam. We want a government that is Islamic. We want Iraqis. We don't want foreigners to come into our country and rule us.
Other groups consider that the most successful form of government in Iraq is one which represents all the different segments of society and not a repeat of Saddam Hussein.
We want it to be decided by the Iraqi people. It should be a government from within the hearts and souls of the Iraqis. It should completely represent all the opposition, factions, and the religious segments. We want a democratic, free government. I just want a government among the Shiites and the Sunnis and all the Iraqi factions, whether it is Suba, Yazidin, or Christian.
Between this and that, others say that the most important thing is to have an interim government that takes them out of the current chaos.
We will accept any government which provides order and security to the people, even if it is an interim government that lasts a year, a month, or 6 months. We want a quick formation of an interim government that stops the disorder in the city. With regards to the people came out of the war weak and suffering. Any government that comes should provide us with what we are missing, especially for workers. We demand freedom, health, and education.
Irrespective of the nature of the future Iraqi government, be it Islamic or secular, the Iraqis want a government that is true to justice and equality after decades of oppression. For the Al-Madar program, Mohammed Abu Ham, Abu Dhabi TV, the city of Al-Thora, Baghdad.
Becoming the first Western leader to visit post-war Iraq, British Prime Minister Tony Blair lauded his troops in a former palace of Saddam Hussein for helping create what he called a defining moment in history. Blair, who gambled his political career to back the American invasion of Iraq, flew to the southern port of Qasr and city of Basra in the cockpit of a missile-carrying RAF Hercules before moving around in a helicopter protected by a machine gunner. He met Iraq's U.S. Administrator Paul Bremer and Britain's envoy to Iraq, John Soros, before his address to the troops. But even as he basked in the applause of his troops, Blair was facing fresh controversy at home over the lack of proof for allegations of Saddam's possession of weapons of mass destruction. A central justification by London and Washington for the war.
Disagreements in the country about the wisdom of my decision to order the action. But I can assure you of one thing, there's absolutely no dispute in Britain at all about your professionalism and your courage and your dedication, and not just the way you won the war, which was extraordinary, but the way that you're conducting the peace, which is remarkable.
Still in other news, warnings by the American administration to Iran have increased. U.S. Iraqi Administrator Paul Bremer said that Iranian activity in Iraq is troubling and could result in serious problems if it goes too far. While yesterday, U.S. National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice said that U.S. President George Bush will be discussing his concern over Russia's cooperation with Iran at a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin later this week. Iran has denied the charges. In the case of Iraq, Tehran has said that although it wants a role in Iraq's reconstruction process, it has no plans to meddle in the country's internal affairs. Russia's technology sales to Iran and the construction of Iran's first nuclear reactors have been major points of contention in the relations between Moscow and Washington.
We believe that the recent findings of the IAEA on their visit to Iran will demonstrate that there is indeed a problem that needs to be dealt with in Iran. We will wait for that IAEA report, but I think that the presidents will want to talk about what steps can be taken to make certain that any efforts in which anyone is engaged in with Iran, and by the way, it's not just Russia who is engaged in various kinds of cooperation with Iran, are not actually contributing to the potential problem of a military nuclear program.
And above the skies of Australia, a 40-year-old man apparently intent on crashing a Qantas flight slashed 2 attendants with chopsticks before being overpowered on his way to the cockpit. It was a Boeing 717 heading to Tasmania from Melbourne with 53 passengers and crew when a man attacked crew members with a sharp 15-centimeter wooden instrument as he raced down a 118-seat plane towards the cockpit. Officials who took the man into custody after passengers and crew wrestled him to the ground said that the act did not appear to be terrorism.
Iraqi schools and orphanages reopen. Many children, particularly girls, are being kept away from them because of lack of security. A number of women and girls have been abducted since Saddam Hussein's regime fell, and resentment among locals is growing as Americans are unable to supply enough soldiers to protect the children. With soul and blood, we will sacrifice ourselves for Iraq, chant these Iraqi boys, as anti-US sentiment is running high, even among these children in the town of Fallujah. This town west of Baghdad has been the scene of many clashes between US occupation forces and residents. In May, US forces killed more than 15 demonstrators and has since been the target of attacks. The latest was on Tuesday, when 2 US soldiers were killed and many others wounded. Meanwhile, Iraqi girls arrive for classes at the Al-Amthal secondary school in East Baghdad. Most schools and orphanages in Iraq have reopened, but many children, particularly girls, have been kept away from them. Since the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime, a number of women and girls had been abducted. Many parents choose to keep their children at home, and resentment is growing among the local population at America's inadequacy to provide enough soldiers to guard against looters and bandits. The gates of Al-Amthal secondary school are protected, but parents are still worried.
These looters and killers and invaders, which I call them invaders, no other explanation for this. Saying they are threatening the teachers, the orphans, to kill them if they begin to study, to live here again. The US Army said we don't have enough soldiers. How they invade Iraq and they don't have enough soldiers to protect the teachers and the orphans.
Other places are not so lucky as well. The Kiryat al-Asla orphanage was once, by Iraqi standards, a well-equipped, functioning institution, housing 650 children between the ages of 2 and 18. Teachers said that at the start of the war, Saddam Hussein decreed everyone leave as it was an official building and likely to be bombed. Most of the children went to live with extended family members or friends. And after the fall of Saddam, the looters moved in, grabbing everything they could lay their hands on and occupying teachers' and children's flats emptied before the war. Only the mosque was spared, the only building not to be vacated at the beginning of the war. It remained under 24-hour guard by volunteers who protected it from the looters. After a few weeks, teachers and students began to venture back, but were prevented from remaining by looters still occupying the living quarters and other buildings. The teachers then decided to try and open the school for 3 days a week, but so far only about 100 children have dared to come back.
I was completely astonished and very upset when I came to my school. It was not like this before. It was a very nice school in the village. I can't look at the condition of the school. Why does this nice village come under havoc and destruction? There is no security. Before, as a girl, I could walk alone and roam around with nobody accompanying me.
Teachers say staff and children have been threatened with death if they start living or studying in the buildings again. U.S. Middle East envoy William Burns arrived in Cairo on Thursday for talks with Egyptian officials ahead of the U.S. Arab summit. Meanwhile, Mahmoud Abbas said he might reach an agreement with Hamas next week on stopping operations in the 1948 occupied territories.
The White House officially confirmed U.S. President George W. Bush's first trip to the Middle East since taking office in January 2001. Bush will hold a joint June 4th summit with Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon and Palestinian Premier Mahmoud Abbas in Jordan. He will also meet a day earlier in the Egyptian Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh with Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, Saudi Crown Prince Abdullah bin Abdulaziz, Jordan's King Abdullah II, Bahrain's King Hamad, and the Palestinian Prime Minister. White House spokesman Ira Fleischer, who said the Middle East is one of Bush's priorities in his tour, stressed that the problem is that hopeful moments can be derailed. Other U.S. officials highlighted this indecisive atmosphere about the outcome of the summit. A week before the summit, Sharon and Abu Mazen meet later today at an undisclosed location in occupied Jerusalem to discuss implementation of the so-called Middle East Peace Roadmap to pave the way for a Palestinian state by year 2005. In Thursday's talks, each party will be looking for the other to go first. The Palestinian Authority insists it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to end the Intifada and resistance operations as Israel continues its aggression policy. Nevertheless, Abu Mazen seemed optimistic as he told the Israeli daily Yadda'ut Ahronot that he will reach an agreement with Hamas on stopping its operations. But Hamas spiritual leader Ahmad Yassin has recently reiterated Hamas' position that it would be ready to stop its operations in the territories occupied since 1948 if the Israeli army stopped its incursions, assassinations and demolitions in the Palestinian territories, besides setting free the thousands of Palestinian detainees.
He offered the possibility of temporary conditioned ceasefire. Without details, we discussed and we are still discussing these conditions and the details inside the Palestinian organization, inside Hamas organization. Roadmap is imitating in a very distorted manner the Oslo Agreement. For this reason, we are saying and addressing this will bring for the Palestinian nothing.
And as Israel and the U.S. insist a crackdown on resistance groups is necessary to launch the roadmap, the many Israeli reservations on the plan, including the freeze of settlements and the refugees' right to return to Palestine, remain the main obstacle to its full implementation. Concerned about Washington's letter that took into consideration Israel's reservations, Abu Mazen will ask Bush in the summit to ensure the roadmap is implemented unchanged, help stop Israeli aggression, and ease the Palestinian economic crisis as a result of the suffocating Israeli blockades.
Israeli daily Maariv said that it is wrong to be deluded by thinking that Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon has retreated from his stance concerning Jewish settlements. Haaretz said Sharon still exerts all his efforts around the clock to promote violence in the Middle East, and his statements are void, adding that nothing in his words indicate that it is in his intention to show his readiness for the establishment of a Palestinian state. The Daily said he did not make any effort to stop the settlement process. And as for the roadmap, Sharon's office said the roadmap is not a pact, and consequently Israel is not committed to it. It is just, according to the office, a political announcement in which Israel commits itself to the political domain. Only inked agreements are obliging, the office of Sharon concluded.
Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, which promotes journalism excellence worldwide and invests in the vitality of 26 U.S. communities. and the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation.